Love and Hip Hop New York Season 5 has been a huge disappointment. I've watched the show since the first episode, and this season is a huge letdown since the high of Season 4 of New York. There's been 9 seasons, 5 New York, 3 Atlanta, and 1 Hollywood, and Season 4 of Love and Hip Hop New York was my favorite, period, hands down. And, Peter Gunz' dirty feet and the ample fuckery that he displayed between his relationship with that rat, Tara, because if you spell a rat backwards, you end up with Tara. Or if you spell Tara backwards, you end up with a rat. And what he did to my girl, Amina Butterfly, was just ridiculous. And I know it's hard to top that as far as making so-called good TV. But anyway, don't get me wrong. Plenty of stupid stuff pissed me off about this show. In fact, it pisses me off all of the time. But Season 5, Episode 12 made me want to change the channel. And this episode was titled, Mind Your Manners. The scene that made me want to leave the room began when one of the more likable characters from the show, Yandy Smith, was sitting her very pregnant ass down in her office in Midtown New York City. Yandy was upset because on an earlier episode, she was arguing with her squirrel-looking boyfriend Mandisi's Jailbird Harris when his new assistant Remy Weave barged in on the feuding couple's conversation. Yandy's fed up, so she scheduled a sit down with Remy so she can have a talk with her. Yandy decided to fire her boyfriend's employee without his consent. It just so happens the day that she plans to fire this woman, a former Love and Hip Hop cast member, Kimbella, was stopping by her office that day anyway, and she just happens to be Yandy's best friend, all one big ass coincidence. Yandy claims nothing is going to happen between the two women meeting up during her intense discussion with the soon-to-be former assistant. However, this is Love and Hip Hop, so of course something's going to happen. So Remy shows up, and before she can even have a seat, Yandy's being a bitch and complaining about her entering her office without knocking. Now, I'm pretty sure production told her to do that. So Remy, who looks an awful lot like a broke version of Tammy from Basketball Wives LA Season 4, yeah, she's on the cast this season. Anyway, Remy looks like a poor man's Tammy Roman, so I'm going to call Remy Tacky for the rest of this article and video. So Tacky tried to explain her position, but the bitch and Yandy wouldn't allow the poor girl to speak. Now they began to have a very one-sided argument where Yandy took her insecurities and frustrations out on the young woman and eventually fired her. The problem is Yandy couldn't even tell her why she was fired. She asked her for a reason, and Yandy replied, "Because I said so," at least twice. I mean, how unprofessional can you get? Because I said so is something a parent says to their children. Yandy was being so petty, weak, and immature in this scene. I always gave her much more credit than that. Silly me. So anyway, Kimbella with her pretty self is not all about that arguing. She goes from 0 to 100 real quick. So she starts rolling her pretty eyes into the back of her head and talking shit. And Tacky tells Yandy to tell her Pit or Pitbull to go in the doghouse. So what does Kimbella do? She hops all of that booty and all that titty up out of her seat, stampedes across the room like a damn bull in a matador fight, and after some shit talking and arm grabbing, the two women thankfully don't flat out have a brawl. However, Kimbella did break a nail in the ordeal. Here's my issue with this scene. Kimbella has children, Yandy has children, and she's pregnant, and Tacky swallows Mendici's children. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, why are these women fighting over nothing? I mean, the whole scene pissed me off because I used to be a huge fan of Yandy's. She was easily one of my favorites of the 3 Love and Hip Hop adaptations. However, her nasty attitude towards Remy was so unwarranted, and then for her to set things up where Kimbella would have a chance to confront Tacky was just downright disgusting in my opinion. Besides, didn't Yandy get mad at Tacky for the same reason Chrissy was mad at her, interfering with family business and not being professional? Come to think of it, all Tacky had to do when Kimbella was about to attack her was turn around and say, "Chrissy!" And Yandy and Kimbella would have shit in their pants and pissed in their pants and threw up. They would have never been able to do anything after that. She could have just got up and just walked out. They would have been shook. Like Snoop Dogg when Suge Knight comes around. Now, the world is going to laugh at Yandy anyway when the news comes out that Remy, aka Tacky, was fucking Mendices. I mean, I could see him now denying it at first, then claiming, it was just head. If not, Yandy will get into a brawl at the club and have a horrific mug shot with her mascara running down her face, or something else really nasty and really messy will happen. Because karma is a bitch, Yandy. It really is. And in this scene, so were you. But this is just all my opinion. Did this scene piss you off? Did you like it? Did you think this bullshit made good TV? To see these mothers fighting for no fucking reason? Let me know what you think about it all below. Be sure to subscribe to the Meat Magazine YouTube channel. Visit meatmagazine.blogspot.com for more. I need your feedback.